guys, what's going on, everybody? Thomas here once again. Tonight, I'm back here with VC Andrews. So, today's video is called The Awesomeness of Hilda Season 3. So, yeah, a good girl Hilda has gotten herself another season. Though, if one remember in the trailer, this is supposed to be our last one. Man, it seems like these stories always get 3 seasons, which I guess kind of compact the story, so let's just see how Hilda's final adventures went. Be sure to like, subscribe for more, hope you enjoy. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, it's the VC Andrews Critiquer.
Hey bro.
First of all, Warner Brothers, you ever seen a damn fair use doctrine?
No, but I have seen a tuna fish.
Yep, I figured.
Yep,
Guess they're all fish wrap now.
Sorry, Yakko.
Let me just say that I am super glad that I live in an age of YouTube where this is seldomly a thing anymore, but I guess there really is no such thing as a perfect YouTube society. But I guess what hurt more about this one is Warner Brothers has always been so great about releasing claims of my videos. This is the first time they ever said no to releasing it. I guess Rita Narita got greedy and wanted to steal the revenue of hardworking YouTubers. Well, to her I just have to say...
Keep the change,
you filthy animal.
Alright, well, I'm done bitching. Let's talk Hilda Season 3. It is the best animated product I have seen in such a long time.
No joke, this season of Hilda's on par with Disney and Pixar at their highest peak. Dare I say, even a little better in some components.
Really?
It's got some damn good comedy, but it's also the most engaging, mostly unpredictable, and honestly tear-jerking season yet. It was 97% worth the 2-year wait. Hey, nothing's perfect, especially the film industry's understanding of fair use. Okay, I'll stop griping about it.
You're done.
And this final season put me in that otherworldly bliss state that I haven't felt since Top Gun Maverick.
Can I confirm?
Let's look into said
That's kind of like that.
And just a heads up, I'm going to go into all the major spoilers for this season, so be forewarned. So the season starts off with Hilda and her family and friends off at the train station to visit Hilda's great aunt Astrid, who's been Johanna's guardian since her parents died as a baby. So that's what happened. And I just love how the engine has the bulk of a diesel, but is still steam-powered. Okay, so first off, let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of people were ticked off at the decision to have the trio be adolescents this season, but do you know what I think? I think they're really
fair, they are growing up. Makes sense.
They didn't want to see their kids grow up. But I really applaud this decision because, one, it not only makes the actors' older voices feel more natural, but it also makes these characters feel more real. Parents never want real kids to grow up, but they have to, and like real kids, we have to appreciate our trio for who they are now. And on the bright side, I've seen major growth in their characters in this season as well. David is almost never hesitant to help Hilda out with her crazy adventures. Frida's not stressed about being a perfectionist, and Hilda's done lying to her mom and, well, more on her a bit later. Anyway, they get to Angie Astrid, voiced by Miriam Margolyes, and I know what you're thinking. Miriam Margolyes as the Aunt Guardian of an orphaned kid in a fantasy world higher than Pink Floyd? Well, surely that has to mean Johanna's childhood was all... work! But unlike Aunt Sponge, Aunt Astrid was a great guardian to Johanna, and is so awesome, she became one of my favorite Hilda characters in just 5 minutes.
Hilda, I'm so glad you're back to normal. I was worried about what to cook for you if you were still at home.
Normal?
Why don't you kids go and pick out your rooms? That means you too, kiddo. You don't want to get shortchanged.
And their visit has the trio exploring the town, having to deal with a Jar Jar Binks knockoff called Puka, Johanna never getting a chance to relax for more than 2 minutes, and them all having adventure time-like experiences. But then Hilda finds an ancient book of Astrid's on fairies, which are apparently the only fantastical creatures in this world that the general public considers only imaginary.
There's a reason they're called fairy tales, not just tales.
But Hilda believes in them and surveys the people at Toffatin for info, all of whom have varied answers, but none of them seem especially favorable, and the only fairy mount they come across is a tourist attraction. And Aunt Astrid reaffirms that fairies are just fairy tales, but seems strangely uncomfortable about the matter, and even asks Hilda not to bring this up to her mom.
It's odd.
This, of course, only peaks...
Yeah, that is odd. Like, okay, remember back in season 1, it was just Joanna and Hilda. But now we got a guardian here, so when did Joanna leave? And the fact that she's kind of worried about these fairies, or theory, I swear I'm hearing theory, but we'll just stick with theories, because what is going on here? Did Joanna have a bad experience with them? Like, think about it. It could explain why Joanna left, right? I mean, think about it. If she was this comforting, like, why did she leave? I don't know if this was like a kind of like a retcon, but I don't know. It's just my thoughts, but moving along.
Hilda's interest all the more, and when she finds Astrid setting up charms outside an actual fairy mount, the trio go there the next day and...
Let me guess.
Learn that these fairies are definitely not out of Winx Club or Butch Hartman.
Ugh.
But Johanna and Astrid save them and reveal the truth. Johanna's parents were eaten by this Chernobog fairy rhinoceros as a kid, and... No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, God.
She was actually almost abducted by a fairy when she was a little younger than Hilda, and was so traumatized by the experience that she could never return to Toffaton, even having spent the rest of her childhood at boarding school. And needless to say, she is not too pleased with her aunt for lying about the fairy mounts being gone since she moved out.
Because you wouldn't have come.
But Johanna still feels completely betrayed and barely takes the group home. But these two shadowy figures emerge from the mount that follow our leads around for the rest of the series. Okay, so
let me guess. More fairies? I'm guessing once they're broken, they can't go back.
It's quite a dramatic one. Plus, since when are fairies ever depicted as malevolent? Touche, but not at this level. I know what you're thinking. Will the series reveal what happened to Johanna's parents, and does Astrid know more about it than she's letting on? And the answer to both of those is yes. But one thing at a time.
Right.
Okay, I know I had said in my Year Without Santa Claus review that the other episodes were not as good as the finale, but they are still pretty awesome. Well, except for one, which I'm sad to say is the one that had the most potential, finally meeting Hilda's dad.
To be honest, I sort of figured he died when she was a baby.
Oof.
So did I. I assumed it was some kind of horrible illness.
I pictured a tragic accident.
Fair, I can definitely see that.
So how does Hilda react to meeting him for the first time? Guess what? She already knew him, and apparently he visits her every year or so like most divorced dads without much contact to their kids. And guess what else? We never learned anything about why he and Johanna split up, but it's clear it was not in good terms.
Is he going to live here now?
No.
But the bigger problem is, while he's a nice guy, he is so freaking boring. Okay, I did kind of giggle at him letting Hilda take the wheel for a bit, but I don't remember a single memorable line from this guy at all. And what's the big adventure he and Hilda go on in this episode where he makes his return? Okay, get this. He gets conned into doing a very obvious black market job with Hilda by owning the shadiest guy you could come across, and the two only figure that out when they arrive at the castle ruins and the two guys are robbing this troll. The only thing about this episode that really held my interest was the ending, when the troll blames Hilda's pop Anders for the theft and wants vengeance. It is a little exhilarating and pretty sweet that he'd risk his life to retrieve the locket of his daughter, and you really feel Hilda's hurt when he takes off afterwards without saying goodbye. But 1 dead out of 8 isn't a huge deal, and the other 4 episodes before the finale are great. Now please note, I'm not doing the remaining 4 episodes before the finale in production order, I'm doing them by genre. So let's look at the first comedic one, The Laughing Merman, where the trio find no one else in the Sparrow Scouts wants to join them on a fish-finding water raft activity since they view them as the freaky friends who simply aren't compatible with normal scouting trips.
Our number of normal scout trips is currently at 0. Maybe you 3 should leave scouting and join the circus.
And maybe you should consider polishing your bully material. So they ultimately end up with the last available scout, Louise.
Hey, is that a new kid or something?
No, she was apparently a Sparrow Scout for a year. She just likes to keep a low profile. So the gang are determined to start a clean, not weird slate with Louise and avoid adventure like COVID-19. But adventure finds them with Eugene, a miniature merman who lures the gang into a cave with illusions of a sea serpent after them to have as his eternal captive audience for his musical numbers, since he reveals through song he used to entertain for Neptune before he was kidnapped by a fisherman and dumped in this river when he refused to grant his wishes. This character is intended to be an obnoxious pain in the ass, but I'm just going to say it, he is the funniest Hilda villain ever. With his hilariously over-the-top and flamboyant expressions and vocal performance, it's clear the animators and his voice actor Raj Ghatak were having the time of their lives with this character, especially with his musical number, which even though Frida, David, and Hilda like as much as Murray does the Fly Away song, actually replaced said song as my favorite Hilda song. It kind of feels like if the scary tunnel ride from Willy Wonka was a more lighthearted Disney Renaissance musical number.
Show you exotic or nautical fun, my aquatic dramatics are second to none. I'll give you everything if you just give me your applause. You're in luck, cause you're stuck in the muck with me.
Yeah, who needs Don't Let Your Love Fly Away? This song is the shit. But he agrees to let them go if he fails to make them laugh in the next 5 minutes. And succeeds because...
I don't think this is funny.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, I really have to give this show credit for making Happy Madison humor actually funny. Anyway, Louise is free to go since she was the only one who didn't laugh, but agrees to stay forever if she gives the others one more chance to escape and they fail. So he gives them a guessing game for the exit, and this time they succeed thanks to Louise's quick wits. And the fact that her camera can show Eugene's illusions for what they really are, keeping them from going into a trap. And at the end she reveals she knew of their freaky reputation from the beginning and wanted to join them because of it, even hiding their map to prevent the boring trip they had intended. Cliched, but effectively executed message on being yourself. And Eugene also gets a happy ending where he learns that rivers are connected to the ocean and heads back there, but not before giving the asshole scouts a well-deserved payback. Great episode, but even though the gang accepts Louise as the newest member of their group, she's never seen with them again. That's too bad, because I really did like her. Last thing I gotta say is, you better watch out, Sebastian, because when Eugene makes it back to the ocean, you've got some major competition as...
The most talented fish at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah! Next funny episode is Strange Frequencies. Okay,
Radio
get
style.
this. It was bad enough that the Nisses were stealing from the houses they live in, but now they're stealing from each other. What's worse, Hilda's gone full John Nash with her beautiful mind convinced her dad's in trouble and sending her secret messages hidden in newspapers, magazines, and radio messages that she's trying to decode with Alfred.
Look, I know how all this may seem, but I haven't gone crazy.
Whew, that's a relief.
You sure about that?
Because you look like you've gone crazy.
Dude.
Ow.
So Frida organizes a town meeting for the Nisses in their Sparrow Scout Hall to solve their problems and get the crazed Hilda out of the house, luring them with what attracts anyone to an event, free food. But the town meeting quickly turns into a family therapy session.
Oh boy.
That Nissa over there stole my timer!
I wasn't stealing it, I was only borrowing it with the intention of keeping it on my person for all eternity.
Why don't we try a role-playing exercise? Tontu, I want you to imagine you are not yourself. But instead, Tontu, this is the talking stick.
That stick can talk. My stick
No,
can talk.
not like that.
No, only the person holding the stick can talk. My radio.
She talked without holding the stick. I talk without holding the stick.
And like a lot of family therapy sessions, things quickly go from bad to worse. To add insult to injury, Hilda's pop actually wasn't reaching out to her. It was just Victoria Van Gale's messed up radio frequencies. Hilda's crushed by this, and Frida's sore with Hilda for playing a big part in crap hitting the fan at her meeting. But once she's done sulking about her pop, Hilda comes up with a revolutionary idea the next day, having the Nissa share with each other. And sure enough, it works perfectly.
There we go.
Not as good as the Merman episode, but still pretty funny, and did provide a satisfying serious conclusion to the issue with the Nissa's kleptomania. Plus, the scene where Hilda realizes her dad's not looking for her after all was a pretty decent emotional moment. Anyway, Tontu's glad she doesn't need the radio anymore, because now he can continue listening to this exciting new radio drama about this lost dad calling out to his daughter for help.
What?
Huh?
Oh, no, it's not you. No, this daughter's name is Hilda.
What?
Wait.
Hold up a
We'll
minute.
get back to that after we look at the two dramatic episodes. First, there's the Giant Slayer, where Hilda goes to the old Fairytalk tree to build a new charm like her Aunt Astrid's, only to run into her acquaintance, Woodman, who was every bit as much of a dry, snarky deadbeat as we last saw him.
Good to see you again,
I
buddy.
should probably follow her. I wouldn't want anything to happen to my hammer.
And apparently, the roots of the Fairytalk tree are so deep, they teleport the two to the past of an alternate universe identical to theirs around the time all the giants except the two in the pilot episodes flew off Earth after years of persecution from humans. The final straw being when the Giant Slayer kidnaps a giant as very obvious bait to slay the other giants on the spot. Hilda doesn't want another time worm coming after her, but since this is an alternate universe, changing the past won't have consequences for her, so she says, let's make history for the better, and tries to convince the Giant Slayer to back down, and the Giants give humanity one more chance. Bit easier said than done, needless to say. While Woodman is naturally the source of comic relief.
There is a demon in our midst!
Are any of you fans of the jazz guitar?
Guess not.
That would be a no then.
But man, this episode is a heavy one on the whole. On the giant side, Hilda is pretty persuasive with trying to get them to reconsider, but it's clear they've been abused and betrayed by this world far too long for that, especially with humanity thinking they're dumb enough to fall for such an obvious trap with the giant as bait. They even point out that even if she does manage to make the giant slayer see light, he's only one in hundreds of thousands of humans against them, so what difference does that really make? Yeah, that's actually a very good point. The giant slayer, called Halvor, is actually a pretty good character too. This character could have easily been an obnoxious, cocky little shit that we want to shut up, but he's actually kind of a cold-blooded psychopath.
Have you tried talking to the giants? I wasn't put on this earth to talk. My destiny is to slay.
Hell, just look at his swashbuckle with Hilda when he deems her an enemy. Yeah, this is definitely one messed up kid. And it's topped off with us learning that his hatred for giants is because one
back then, pretty sure that's normal.
House. Yeah, sound familiar? Hilda's like, yeah, big deal, happened to me too and I turned out okay. Only we learn it took a bit more than just his house. Yeah, not as relatable as you think, kiddo. And that definitely explains a lot. But as Hilda points out, holding on to his rage is only making things worse, and the burning village from his struggle with Hilda is visual proof of this. And even though the kid now sees the burning light, the giants still migrate from Earth, but not without one helping them save the burning village. And despite Hilda's pleas, she fails to convince them otherwise. In any case, the Feartalk tree's on fire, so she and Woodman have to go back through it unless they want to be stuck in a world without Wi-Fi for the rest of their lives. It may have nothing to do with the story overall, but it's still a pretty effective episode on how grief may not be fun, but holding onto it with a grudge is only doomed to make matters worse. Then there's The Forgotten Lake, which is my favorite episode of this season that doesn't have to do with the main fairy plot. Or does it? So it turns out Hilda still thinks her mom is an overprotective worrywart, even though she's proven herself to be anything but. So to further cement that she's not to Hilda, she opts for a mother-daughter camping trip in their brand new used car. That craps out on them every 5 minutes, so the two pack and set out on the open road for a wild camping adventure together with nary a worry in sight. Though Johanna does have to draw the line somewhere.
Now that we're out of the city, can I drive for a bit?
Okay, hold. Not yet.
I've driven before.
Please don't remind me.
They stop at a lovely wilderness spot on their way to the campground and love it so much they decide to camp there instead. And I just love this cute in-joke where Johanna does a sketch of Hilda and her prototype design from the first couple original comics. Only thing is, a lot of these locations look eerily similar to the painting Johanna did out of her imagination. But she never remembers going to any of these places as a kid. And since when can she play Aunt Astrid's pan flute so damn well? Well, those questions will have to wait, as her playing set flute summons the spider slug thing that looks like it came straight out of Studio Ghibli. And when it captures Hilda, Johanna becomes an action movie badass to save her. Yeah, you thought she was a badass in Hilda and the Mountain King.
Looks like she's really pulling out the
she could take on Bruce Campbell, Liam Neeson, and Mel Gibson with one hand tied behind her back. And every minute of this is freaking awesome. These are honestly the best action scenes I've seen since, well, again, Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, worrywart my ass.
Did you get the dangerous source safety badge?
Nope, never did get that one.
And I love how for once Hilda's mostly the damsel in distress, and she's the one who has to do most of the saving, even having to let Hilda take the wheel for a bit to fend the thing off. And in one of my favorite Hilda moments ever, just as the thing has got Hilda, but Johanna can't hold on to both her and the car, she opts to be eaten alive with her daughter, rather than just let her go and save her own ass. Johanna, I know you love your kid, but that is something else.
Brave.
But thankfully, the creature decides he doesn't like the taste of humans and calls a truce. But why does it say that it had previously tried to eat Johanna when she was only a little younger than Hilda? Wait, she doesn't remember that.
Huh?
And why did it say her parents rescued her from it? Her parents died when she was just a baby. Didn't they? And now for the grand series finale and the best Hilda installment ever,
The
Fairy Isle. No joke, I felt numb after watching this final installment. It's not only visually dazzling, but it has some of the most emotional, jaw-dropping, and heartfelt moments in all of Hilda. It isn't quite perfect, but it's...
So there is definitely something going on with Astrid. I always had a feeling. Like, remember, there is a reason she left, right? Remember, when we started this whole series, it was just Joanna and Hilda. Like, if Astrid had a good relationship with the mom... where was she? So that tells me there's more behind that fairy mound than we know. Because so far, nothing is what it seems, as we all learn. Yep, might as well check it out.
It's still pretty damn close. So back to the part where Tonto hears Hilda's pop calling out to her for help. We find that Alfred has triangulated his location to the fairy mound. Oh yeah, did you forget Alfred was even in this season? Well, I don't blame you, because this is literally the only important thing he contributes to this season. Other than that, he always just stays behind while the gang goes on adventures. Seriously, why did they waste this character so much this season? Okay, so they catch a train to Toffaten in the fairy mound, and Johanna quickly finds out and follows them there, and despite Frida and David's attempts to stop her, goes into the mound to find her daughter. And sure enough, Hilda finds her pop and that psycho hack I mentioned in my Hilda music video, Victoria Van Gale, a crazy meteorologist who wants to find bizarre new worlds, but with less than ethical methods. And we learn that Anders hadn't abandoned Hilda like she thought. He was just pulled into this world by an unknown force when the troll was about to attack him. And I will say, the scenes that follow do somewhat compensate for his incredibly half-assed intro episode. We see these two have deeper conversations, such as Anders apologizing for not being there for Hilda more, as well as a pretty exhilarating journey back to the Earth portal from Frida's magic, where the fairy country does everything it can to stop them. But they make it out okay. But Hilda immediately goes right back when she learns her mom's still in there. While that's going on, David and Astrid have to tend to Frida, who had a physical burnout from doing such a powerful spell, and Anders trying in vain to dig his daughter and ex out. And we finally see the actual fairy country, which, yeah, you thought Hilda and the Mountain King was beautiful? This place has some of the most beautiful animation scenery ever. Okay, so remember how I said the season was mostly unpredictable? Here's a rare example when it fails to be, but how that ultimately isn't necessarily a bad thing. So while Hilda's searching for her mother in the mound, she runs into this little lost girl who's also looking for her parents. Yeah, I know you all figured this out immediately too, so I'm not going to bother hiding the fact that little Caribbean Riding Hood here is so obviously Johanna turned back into a kid with her adult memories erased, which they explain the reason for a bit later. I mean, did you really think hiding her hair in a coat and not revealing her name would keep us from realizing that? Hell, just listen to her voice.
Did your mom try to leave you behind too? Her to sneak off into the fairy kingdom without even saying goodbye?
I have no idea if that's Daisy Haggard's voice digitally higher pitched or some teenager who can do a really damn good Daisy Haggard impression.
Could be either or.
But either way, the predictability of the scene actually works better in the long run, because now we know for a fact that her memories of never having parents were false. And more importantly, even though Johanna no longer remembers her daughter, nor does Hilda recognize her, the two almost immediately become friends and team up to find their parents, and you still really feel the incredible bond these two have and how they interact with each other. It really shows how not even taking away her memories will take away Johanna's love for Hilda. And they finally make it to a copy of their old destroyed house, and find that the two hooded figures stalking Hilda all season are her grandparents, called Finium and Lydia. So once Johanna's adult age and memories are restored, including the fact that these are her parents but nothing beyond that, she demands to know why they pulled a total recall on her and made her think she never grew up with them at all and only had Aunt Astrid. So get this, Astrid and Finium are fairies themselves.
Whoa.
I am a fairy!
Let's just say half fairy.
I'm a fairy! I am a fairy!
Well, I gotta say, I sure didn't see that coming either.
Technically,
though that
fairy?
does explain why she's the only human around with blue hair. Anyway, as kids, they were fond of spying on humans, but were forbidden from having contact with them. That is until they exposed themselves and met Lydia. They then said, to hell with the rules, and would constantly travel from the fairy country to play with their new friend. And pretty soon, Lydia and Finium's feelings for each other stepped out of being just platonic, and soon led to... So, since Finium knew he'd be in huge trouble if the fairies found out he interacted and slept with a human, he decided to marry Lydia and stay on Earth with her along with Astrid. But not long after her birth, Johanna caught a deadly illness that no Earth doctor could treat. So they went to the leader of the fairies, Jorgen von Strangle.
No.
I cannot deny you. I must obey. I want to please.
Wait, no, sorry,
wrong Jorgen.
Fairy leader. This is the Fairy Queen, who pulls a Rumpelstiltskin on them. Namely, she'll only save their baby if they give her to them in 10 years. They obliged since they didn't have any other option, but when the time came, they naturally didn't have the hearts to hand their daughter over to an abomination of a fairy that looks like it came out of Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. so they offered themselves instead. And they explained they had Astrid wipe her memories of them because they knew she would come after them, and them reuniting would violate the terms of the Fairy Queen's bargain and result in her being imprisoned forever as well, but still kept an eye on her through the watchtower, hence their shadows everywhere this season. Okay, I just have to give this show a big slow clap for doing something that Disney has failed miserably to do, besides have its stories be both woke and entertaining. So often in Disney movies, we see parents keep their kids in the dark about something, or like here, wipe their memories of it for their own protection. Only thing is, they never explain why. Why did Ariel think keeping her past as a mermaid from her own daughter would protect her from Ursula's vengeful sister? Why did Anna's parents think wiping her memory of when her sister hurt her with her ice powers and keeping them apart with no explanation would keep her safe? But here, wiping Johanna's memory made sense. If she remembered them, she would stop at nothing to break in there to rescue them, and if she did so, she'd lose her freedom also. So it would make sense they'd have to make her forget them for her well-being. And Astrid has this reason as well.
I wanted to protect you, so you wouldn't have to carry the pain of losing them. I was wrong.
Not as good as the reason with her parents, but still better than any explanation Disney's given us. So Astrid restores all of Johanna's memories of growing up with her parents, and Johanna forgives her for taking them from her to begin with. But then they're reminded that their reunion's broken the agreement, so the Fairy Queen isn't gonna let them go anywhere. Johanna's perfectly fine with this as long as her whole family's together, and Hilda tries to be as well, but remember how I'd mentioned she'd grown this season? Well, Hilda ultimately remembers what she learned in the House in the Woods episode, namely how even though this is the perfect world for an adventurer and wilderness lover like herself, it won't ever truly be home without her friends. She also has this logical argument.
If we stay here, this is it. Nothing will be new. This is everything there will ever be for us.
Is that really so bad?
Think about what you're saying.
This honestly is the most engaging conflict in the series, and to elaborate on Hilda's point, this place is kind of a utopia that caters to its residents' desires, hence why Johanna's parents still look young, and Johanna temporarily reverted back to her 10-year-old self. Her parents naturally would have wanted a reunion of the version of herself when they had to abandon her. So yeah, since they'll have all they want, there won't be anything new about it. But with that said, is that really a bad thing? Remember, Johanna's only just remembered she had a forgotten life with frickin' awesome parents, so her logic is, those you love are all you need to be happy. And yes, Hilda's biggest problem is she doesn't have her friends in this scenario, and even though her family's able to teleport them there as well, just like they did her father to save him, Hilda doesn't want them to be prisoners as well. So it's really a matter of opinion on which one is in the right here. So when Twig arrives with his family to rescue them, in a scene that had my jaw almost hit the floor in shock, Johanna initially can't leave her parents whom she's just been reunited with, which Hilda heartbrokenly accepts, just like she did with Twig and his family. But like Twig, Johanna can't abandon her daughter and agrees to give up on her dream life with her parents for her. Johanna, you're not as awesome as my own mom, but you're still pretty cool. So they have a pretty badass showdown as the deer foxes just barely help them escape the island, who tries to do everything it can to stop them. And this honestly is such a rush-inducing finale, I was expecting the movie to be over by now. But nope, since the bargain's been double broken, the Fairy Queen actually restores the high fever Johanna had as a baby. And she dies. I knew it wasn't going to last, but this caught me by surprise so much, and the grief Hilda and her friends show is so intense, I felt just as torn up as if it were a permanent death. But she's saved! By Astrid offering her life instead. Except it turns out she's okay. Okay, here's a perfect example of the show making the best of a bad situation. Even though Netflix probably demanded to the creators that Astrid survive, they came up with a good compensation for this perfect emotional death scene. Remember, Victoria Van Gale's still there, so she figures since she doesn't want to leave the island anyway, she can offer herself as the island's eternal prisoner in exchange for sparing Astrid. So while it doesn't make the creators any less of chickens, it is satisfying that Van Gale finally gets the surreal happy ending she wanted, and in a noble way for once. And it's all topped off with a beautiful montage of several other characters we've seen throughout the series attend the Great Bird Parade, topped off with Hilda riding the Great Raven, just as she did when she first came to Trollberg.
Good to see you, kid.
You
what
too.
Did I miss?
And with a reminder that our grandparents are still watching over her, it makes for the best ending we could ask for.
And with that, as Alfred would say, we've reached the end of our paperwork trail with Hilda. But as Dr. Seuss would say, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
In many ways, the show as a whole was a spiritual successor to another Netflix series with Bella Ramsey, The New Worst Witch. I mean the second adaptation of the books, which I had done in Old versus New.
Yeah, that you did, The Worst Witch.
Both of the first seasons, at least. I'm bringing this up because, unlike with Hilda, both shows seem to suffer the same fate after season 1. Namely, they largely dropped the deep social commentaries on the stress of being an outsider and engaging conflicts around friendship in favor of run-of-the-mill witchcraft stories. Hilda, on the other hand, did the exact opposite, namely by upping the relationship conflicts and emotional drama each season in the movie, which only got me more and more invested in these characters. And on the whole, I think Hilda Season 3 is my favorite one ever. Even though I was disappointed we didn't get more on Hilda's dad like all the advertising made us think we were, the backstory on Johanna is easily the most emotional and interesting one in the entire series. And again, I'm really impressed it managed to give us a logical reason for the keeping kids in the dark scenario that Disney never managed to do. And even if Anders is not an interesting or developed character overall, I am glad in the final episode they did at least give him a chance to prove himself as a protective and loving father to Hilda. And again, I have more than a few problems with this season, like how Alfred does virtually nothing, and I really wish they hadn't chickened down and gone ahead with Aunt Astrid sacrificing herself. It would have made for a very emotional and artistically significant death scene. But looking back overall, the good more than outweighs the bad. And that montage of most of the characters we've seen in the finale, topped off with Hilda going on one last ride on the Great Raven, that was just... I almost had tears of joy watching that scene. It's just one of those finales that's so perfect and beautiful, you just cannot go beyond that. And best of all, this show gave me my favorite running gag on the show of tormenting Murray reactions with the Fly Away song.
But since the series is over and I am so ungodly terrified of those Teletubbies, I think I am going to be retiring that joke now.
Thank you.
And maybe deer foxes will fly out of my butt.
Don't do that.
Don't let your love fly away, fly away. Don't be afraid to seize the day.
Really?
Sorry, Murray, but after dealing with that puka this season, I built up a stronger tolerance to annoying characters, including Teletubbies.
Really?
Besides, it is a tradition we have to play that song whenever we announce a collaboration to our viewers. Speaking of which, why don't you clue them in on it?
See you guys real soon for some yucking and a pie fight. Am I curly? Look out below.
And more importantly, some good old-fashioned comedy that was not written by ChatGPT. So we'll be... it's another text from Murray Reactions. Dear VC, I completely understand that the Flyaway song is a time-honored tradition for announcing our collaborations. So to show you there are no hard feelings, I have sent you a Christmas present in the link below. Happy holidays. What a nice guy. Ordinarily, I'd be a bit suspicious, but I'm feeling a little stoogish all of a sudden for some reason. And in any case, there's no way he could taught me something worse than that puka, so thanks.
You'll be sorry. Of course, man. It's the holiday season. No problem.
Okay, let's click that link.
Santa shark, ho, 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 Santa shark, ho, 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 Santa shark, ho, 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 Santa shark.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Hey.
And a Happy New Year.
Thanks, Joanna. Well, it looks like Joanna's on my side. Jeez. Warned you, buddy. Warned you. Love it. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. So I'll see you for the next one. Until next time, adios.